Many of us strive to be the best versions of ourselves in the workplace. We set seemingly impossible goals. We battle to achieve them. Often in that pursuit, we forget to take the same level of care and diligence with ourselves and with the ones we love the most. LodeStar is about those moments, the ones that shape go-to-market journeys and the humans behind them. We'll dive into the wins, the mistakes, and the lessons that don't fit neatly into a playbook.
Hey, Cliff Simon here. Welcome back for another episode of LodeStar. I'm joined today by Jen Allen-Knuth. You're doing all this training. How do you keep sharp yourself?
Oh my gosh, I spend way too much time on LinkedIn learning from people. Now, I know people will say it's a cesspool, and there are certainly parts of LinkedIn that are cesspool-esque, but I find that there are so many brilliant people that are very generous with their thinking. So one person who I love learning from is Nate Nasrallah. I think Nate is a freaking gift to our profession. He's got such a great way of taking really complex topics and simplifying them. And so I've got my list of people that I look at every day. What are you talking about? What are you thinking about? How are you using AI? What are you holding on to that was a yesteryear type tactic? So I've always been a learner who likes to learn more practically. What I don't do is sit down and read a sales book. I have a hard time staying focused when I do that.
Yeah, that's
my
fair.
memory doesn't kind of capture it. I also love going to events, being part of communities. I like learning from people who are doing. So
Yeah.
that's where I do it.
I mean, that's logical, right? We all learn differently.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I want to have a conversation about it, and then I want to go do it a million times and fail.
I like that.
Well, I need the hand. For me, I'm very hands-on.
Uh-huh.
So when I'm not doing this, I like doing woodworking projects and stuff at home and electrical, whatever needs to be done around the house. And I want to figure it out. Yeah, I remember even as a kid in school, don't give me the answer. Let me figure it out. And I want to pressure test back and forth the thoughts or the concepts instead of you telling me what's right or what's wrong.
See, that makes a lot of sense with what I know about you and what you do, right? Because you like to get your hands in places and fix things and try things, and you're not scared of what might be broken because you know you'll learn from it on the other side. I think that's a very strong quality in someone who's going to go and help organizations get stuff done.
How do you then take that, the way that you like to learn,
Mm-hmm.
how do you help the sellers and the teams that you're coaching through? How do you help them learn based off of the myriad of different learning styles that they have, given the fact that you're getting such a short period of time with them?
One of the things that used to frustrate the hell out of me as a seller is you'd go to a sales kickoff and then you'd sit through 8 hours of just PowerPoints and people talking at you.
And then you're doing this.
Exactly. And they always do that the day after the happy hour. I'm like, who's planning this? So what I'm a big proponent of is you drink through a fire hose at SKOs, and then you go home and you've got all this work piled up. So you never actually often end up doing anything with what you learn. So I'm a big proponent to say anytime I'm going to come in to do a keynote or a workshop, I have sellers do a little bit of pre-work in advance. So if I'm teaching, for example, discovery, I have sellers pick a discovery call that they recently did that they thought should have gone well and it didn't convert into a second call. And then I have them answer questions that I think illuminate how much or how little did this person know about the account before they showed up to that call. So it's things like, what were the CEO's objectives for the business, and what problems do you think result from that for your buyer, and how do you think they're solving those problems today? And then I take all that, and that allows me to contextualize what I teach through their accounts, through what they sell. So I'm a big believer that you have to talk about their accounts, their solution, their buyer, if you want to win credibility with sales. It's what I love the most, is sales is a really harsh audience. So it forces you to be at the top of your game. So when I'm in at a kickoff, what I'm doing is I'm teaching an idea or unteaching an idea, introducing a new way of thinking, and then saying, all right, now take that account you selected in pre-work and run this on that right now. Now let's come back together. What was hard? What do you think you need to do differently? And we're taking every step as it goes. There's a guy, you might know him, there's a musician called Charlie Puth. Have you ever heard of him? He's a younger guy. He's a freaking musical genius. And he goes on Jimmy Fallon a lot.
Okay.
And what he'll do is he'll take a coffee cup and he'll make a sound like that.
Oh, I saw that clip. Yeah.
Oh
okay.
my gosh. It's the most brilliant thing. And he really inspired me.
No.
Yes. He takes all these little noises and then assembles a song. And it was watching that got me realizing that's actually the way we should think about sales. Because if I say run a great discovery call and lead with value and ask great questions, that means nothing. But if I can take it in component pieces, I think sellers just like to get their hands in and on things.
Yep.
And that's been a really effective way, I think, to get people trying it in the meeting versus hoping they try it after.
Mhm.
But I combine that with visuals, with storytelling, because I'm a visual learner. I try to appease as many different, senses and learning styles as I can.
I remember for me, like when I was first getting into like the corporate side, back at Verizon, we did all of that enablement off-site. They would bring everyone in from one region, so like half the country, and you'd be in an office together. But you would go for orientation, then you do 2 weeks in the field, then you go back for you'd go a week or 2 weeks on site with everybody else learning, then you're back in the field, and then for another 2 weeks, and then you come back again. So you're constantly learning concepts, getting the opportunity to apply it, and then come back again. Obviously, the world's changed a bit in how we actually deliver that content, but I think that concept of showing somebody something, giving them the ability to execute against it, learn, fail, succeed, get that little endorphin kick and the dopamine high of like feeling the win, and then going back out and doing it again.
What I find so interesting is like, when is the last time you heard a SaaS company that did something like that? Like gives that much structure and that much focus on what you learn in your first like 4 or 5 weeks. I don't ever see it.
It doesn't happen.
I see a lot of e-learning, I see a lot of product training, but I argue a lot of the people that I respect, you being one of them, when you look back at how they grew up in their functions, it's almost always places that overinvest in their development early.
Oh, there was so much investing in education and enablement. I mean, we didn't call it those things back then.
Sure.
Sales training. I remember going in, we did an entire week where it was just axiom selling, value selling.
Mm-hmm.
I've never worked for a company that had the cheapest product in the market. I always
See?
had multiple competitors. We were usually the Mercedes-Benz of the category. So how do you focus back on value? How do you reorient the customer's mindset? And getting that beaten into me as a 23, 24,
Yes.
25-year-old, right?
Same. I mean, I was selling an annual research subscription to like best practice research. Like talk about something that you do not need, like and a need to have, and something that was perceived as nice to have. So the company CEB was so great because they recognized that and they said, we're never going to sell it off the back of just the product alone. It's not something you can't demo a website with a bunch of case studies on it. Like that's boring and no one would buy it. And so it was drilled into me early that the sales experience you deliver matters more than anything else. And I think I look back at all these people I worked with at CEB, and they're almost all successful in leadership roles, doing great. And I just that was part of the pool for me to do what I do now. Is I just think it's a shame that people go into sales and think it's like you either have it or you don't, and they don't think it's a learned skill. Where in my opinion, I think the only thing you can't train is hard work. You have to have a work ethic.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there ain't a damn thing in sales that you can't learn.
I think what we've done with all the tech is we've taken a lot of that onus off of the end user, and we haven't put that responsibility back on them. And now with AI, we're like, we need all the things that you weren't doing before because we need the metadata so that we can give you the insights. We need to there's so much stuff that you don't have to do anymore. Like, you don't have to research anymore. You don't have to do the infographics, technographic, like all that stuff gets pulled together for you if you've got it set up right. And you can focus on the things that actually matter.
It's a novel freaking concept, right? And it's like you can't make the job any easier than it is right now. I'm not saying the job of sales is easy, but, and this is like, I walked to school in the snow, but when I think about my tech stack when I was a seller, it was Outlook, freaking Teams, LinkedIn, not even Sales
Teams.
Navigator, and like, what else? Salesforce. And that was it. And you were really flying blind. So I just like, in many ways, when I hear sellers complaining about like the job is hard, I almost think there should be this is extreme, but I do think it would be interesting to say, before you are given any sales tech, we're going to put you in the job without it, have you learn the manual motions so that you really master the craft, and then we give you access to sales tech that's going to make it easier. Because where I get so concerned is just this like easy, we've talked about this before, but like this easy button idea of like, oh, I have an AI SDR, like great, boom, I'll hit that and they'll go out and do my job for me. And you never actually learn the craft, so you don't have the judgment to discern, is this good or bad?
Yeah.
And so I would be such a fan of any company that said like, let's go back to old school, try it this way first, and then arm you with the stuff once we think you know what you're doing.
Like when I started in sales, right?
You have to say it like that.
We used to have to come back to the office at the end of the day with the 10 to 20 business cards of the companies that you went
Oh, dang.
to. Like,
You're like stopping at the grocery store being like, do you have a business card I can take?
People didn't hang up on you. They might throw a stapler at you, right?
Like, what's that knob on your head? Well, I got a bad customer.
No, you got to duck. Like, but I remember like so succinctly hearing stories of people who were prospecting in New York City and like either getting kicked out of buildings or like getting the cops called on them. We don't deal with that anymore because we don't show up and bring donuts.
Yeah. It's like someone hung up on me. Like, all right, well, you didn't have a stapler thrown at you. It'll be okay.
They said no. Okay, like move on.
That's 70% of conversations we will have. They'll say no.
Yeah.
It's just the job you signed up for.
So I'm a big StrengthsFinder guy. My top 5 are strategy, ideation, achiever, competitiveness, and connectedness. And then my 6th is woo, which is like...
What is woo?
Like charisma.
Oh my gosh, you have so much charisma. I would describe you as a very charismatic person.
I don't know, sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not gassing you up. I just genuinely think you're very charismatic.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Like you're a center point in most rooms, I would say, where people like come around you.
Coming from the lady who like just rocks a stage.
Yeah, well, that's different. Stages are totally different than like going to a dinner. I'm way more comfortable on a stage than I am at dinner.
You're more introverted?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
most speakers
Are introverts.
are introverts.
Yeah.
And you just flip on a different part of you when you're on stage. Like the thing I dread is when someone's like, can you join us for dinner the night before? I'm like, no. Can I do it the night after so people already have something to talk to me about? I've gotten better.
I'm trying to get better at like the stage thing. Don't do nearly as many things on stage as you. Right? What are you like 26, 27 SCOs this past year?
Actually, almost 40 by the end of the year if you count the like June, July ones. Yeah.
Wow.
I was very lucky. Like LinkedIn's helped a lot with that, but
It's not luck. It's hard work and effort
there's
that
some luck
pays
in it.
off.
There's some luck in it.
Sweat equity counts.
Yep.
It's the thing that everyone thinks like you got somewhere, you were successful. Oh, they were lucky. They're the right place in the right time. But there's time and effort that goes into planning and making sure that you're in the right place.
That's true.
So that you can have the opportunity to have a conversation.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just don't like to, I don't know, maybe it's like an insecurity about like, you're doing all these big things. And I'm like, I don't, it's a weird thing because even though I like being on stage, I don't like being the center of attention. And then so the second I start getting, I think most of us are like this. When you get compliments, you like minimize it and you're just like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's less than. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably what that is.
I don't know why that we do that.
Well, that's a good thing. I'd rather that than the opposite.
What else we want to talk about? We've got,
You want to talk about influencer stuff?
yeah, what's that like?
Don't act like you don't. You've done influencer stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, I do some.
So I didn't do any of it until I went on Devin Reed's podcast. Gosh, what was that, like 2 years ago?
Okay.
And he was doing a lot of, and we ended up just having like a very natural conversation where I was like, you know, don't you worry, people are going to think differently about you, whatever. He's like, no, as long as you stay true to your style. So he introduced me to his agent, Anish Lal. Anish was like, I think you're thinking about it as like you become this product shiller. Like that's not what you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
You get kind of creative control over what kind of, you know, brand partnerships you want to do. So I was like, all right, let's play around with it. The first one I really did seriously was Clay. And Clay at the time, I was like, I am the least technical person ever.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to look to me to be like, Jen, what's the future of GTM engineering? No one, that's just not my lane.
Oh, man.
But I said to them, I was like, you know, I wonder how many people are like me and they're freaked out by the fact that like this feels so technical and how do we use it? So could we do a series where I really kind of dumb it down for my own understanding, but also for people that are like me? And so they loved that idea. And so we started doing these like 60-second playbooks where I would say, here's something we normally do manually as a seller. Now here's how we can use Clay to do it differently. And it was just something simple. It wasn't like a 65-step workflow or anything like that. And that changed the way I thought about brand partnerships.
Okay.
Over time, where I think it became less desirable is there are so many companies who want to get in the influencer space, but want to treat them like an extension of their marketing team. So like,
No.
I had a company that was like, we want you to keep saying the phrase, you know, AI orchestration layer. And I was like, first of all, I don't know what that means. Second of all, no one would take me seriously if I talk like that. It's just not me. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It makes sense for your product. But if that's what you want, then I'm the wrong partner. But they were really insistent on, no,
you give
you're the
my
right
number?
partner. Yeah, I'm like, here you go. But and so it's just, to me, it's like, I think sometimes they want you to sound like the website instead of being like, we are a channel to get someone to go to your website where you can use all that terminology.
Right.
And so over time, I just kind of got frustrated. And I was like, I started to dread doing the paid posts. So I actually stopped.
Nice.
And now where I'm at is I mean, you and I share this. I love events. I love smaller events, not big events.
I'm with you there too.
And I think like having an event activation is such a more interesting use case for if you've got someone that an SME that someone wants to learn from, use it. There was a company I worked with that used me for like a recruiting event and said, we want to bring people in that are intellectually curious about how to get better at sales, potentially hire them. So we want to make you the person that they come and learn from. And we didn't talk about their company at all, but they had tons of great like recruiting conversations. And so once I did that, I was like, this is actually so much more interesting for them and way more interesting for me and more my lane.
I love that example because you're no longer thinking about a short-term punch or like shot in the arm, whatever you want to call it, to pipeline generation or interest or whatever. But you're actually taking a moment there, taking a step back and saying, well, how can I add value to my customers? Yeah.
It's 100% that. And I think it's like we've just got to expand our thinking around influencers because I also think, there's become this really common kind of storytelling motion now where it's like, oh, I was, struggling to stay alive. And then I found this CRM and it's like, come on, like no one is buying this stuff. And we're all using the same AI tool to write it. It's clear. And so I think like it's becoming a pattern.
You guys
and
use
we've
AI
got
to
to
write?
Can you believe that? We got to break the pattern and just be more interesting and more creative. I think that's what makes influencers interesting to begin with. And I don't like referring to myself as an influencer. I like thinking of myself as a subject matter expert who like does some influencing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting space to be in because there's companies who really want you but are unwilling to use you in the ways of like what makes you great. Like me, I'm very authentic to my style. I'm a little bit unhinged.
Which I totally appreciate.
But like that way, if I then write this very prose perfect post, people are gonna be like, "That's so fake and not you." So, I think it's still early, so it's understandable that there's not this proficiency yet. But if B2B wants to make this work, we gotta like relinquish a little bit of that.
But does B2B want it to work? I have this long-held thought that, and I mean everything I built at Caribbean and even stuff we're doing now, that people in the B2B space, we want to have a consumer-like buying experience.
Yes.
And I see how the influencer obviously is similar to that when you think about like what's going on TikTok and Instagram, but it almost feels like at times we're adding friction in the sense that if the post or the connection between that person that's repping a brand and the brand isn't genuine, and when that isn't aligned, you feel the dissonance. And it makes you less likely to actually go for that product because like, all right, these people are just trying to play a trick in the marketing way that they are to get to the outcome that they want, as opposed to actually talking about the things that I care about and meeting me where I am, wherever that might be in my buying journey or my customer journey more appropriately.
I totally agree. Like I remember sitting next to you at a dinner one time and someone sitting next to me was like, we've got over 100 tools in our tech stack. And you're like, huh, that's really interesting. Like, have you ever had someone take a look at that? And they were like, no, why would you? And you were like, yeah, I'd like to. That conversation there made me think someone like you who has credibility, where you've seen it all, probably had your hands in it all, like I would actively want to hear what you think about a tool versus someone who just has 75,000 followers and it's because they have followers, like now we think that we want to learn from them. Those two things don't add up.
That's a funny game, right? Like even the follower thing. I've kept my count lower on purpose because I want higher engagement.
It's smart.
Like I only want to talk to the people that actually care about hearing what I have to say.
Like, and Jess at Vector, she did a post recently that was talking about how like most of the people that they use in their influencer campaign, which was really successful, they had less than 15,000 followers. They weren't mega like influencers, and I actually think like that's where I want to see it go because I want people influencing who have subject matter expertise, and that's why they're chosen. Not, oh, you've got this giant platform. Because guess what? Like I've got 97,000 followers, and I was fucking around in my follower list yesterday, and I was like, I don't even think half of these people are real people. Like I don't, and many of them, I'm like, why are you following me, cybersecurity expert? Like, what are you gonna get from me? So I just think it's such a stupid and ridiculous way of choosing who's gonna rep your brand.
It's like an MQL.
It is. It's so gross. And that's why and then people are disappointed with the outcomes. It's like, well, you didn't pick the right person for the job. Yes, many salespeople follow me, but if you look at me in particular, no salesperson follows me for my technical acumen, right? So I should not be repping anything to be like, this is the right technical solution. But I think that's what I see happening a lot. And that's why I have a little bit of like a sour taste in my mouth about it.
What do you think the future of like this burgeoning profession is?
I'm not saying I agree with it. I do think it's going to be a highly profitable thing for people who do work very hard to build their follower counts. Because I just think that's too attractive and tempting for companies to be like, that's a much easier channel. I can justify they've got this reach. Like that's classically how we think about marketing. So I think if you look at Gen Z, you look at Gen Alpha, like they're growing up in the influencer era. I think it's going to be a far more influential driver of purchase. I just don't know if I don't know if I like it.
I personally don't have TikTok.
Me either.
I think I have an Instagram account that exists somewhere, but I haven't had it on my phone in over 6 years. I know that's where the consumer lives, and I know that's where the future buyer will live because they live there today. And I've seen a ton of folks have great success going on to TikTok and Instagram, selling B2B, right? Because they're showing up in the places that their buyers live today. And as the boomers age out and folks in our category of life continue to sit more in the C-suite and make business decisions, we too are going to pass into a place where we're now allowing the alphas and the Zs to be the ones that are making these decisions, or at least going through the process of evaluating.
Yeah.
And having that 10, 20, 30 touch points with the different individuals, those different personas that are in the buying committee, that's going to be very, very important. And that's how they buy today. But to your point, I don't know if I like it.
The other, we talked about Leslie Vanetz before. I mean, I remember Leslie, she grew up, she blew up on TikTok, but I was like, what's the experience like of creating there? And she was like, you get death threats. She'll be like, here's an email subject line. They're like, kill yourself. And I'm like, I could never deal with that. Nobody's doing that on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the safest platform because people have their name and company attached.
Yeah, you get fired.
Yeah, but on TikTok, I mean, and so it prompted
That's
me to
wild.
start looking at it. I'm like, wow, people are so hateful there. So I think it's also very different depending on the channel. LinkedIn's the safest channel. It's why it's the only one I'm on. Like, I'm like you. I had TikTok for a while. Their algorithm is very, very smart. So I was ending up in like a dark depression from seeing all this rescue dog stuff. And I was like, I need to pull the plug. It's too much.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so I got rid of it 2 years ago. Instagram, I'm like barely on. Facebook, I'm barely on. So I go all in on LinkedIn.
Facebook Marketplace.
Oh my gosh, it's fucking unhinged animals on there. But I think that limits me, right? Because I think over time it's going to become even more important because of exactly what you said, that, okay, great, you've got a presence on LinkedIn, but Gen Alpha is not on LinkedIn, or maybe they are, but they're spending far more time over here. And so I think as a creator, it's going to force the hand that you have to have all these different channels. And I've seen a lot of creators now who are saying, all right, I'm doubling down on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And now that becomes also like, do I want to spend my life like that? Do I want to spend my life repurposing content for 6 different channels and being at the mercy of 6 different algorithms? Like that, I worry a little bit about like creator sanity in that kind of world.
So like for this, right, this will end up on YouTube, end up on Spotify, and then the shorts from this will end up being shorts on YouTube. Beyond that, it's not like we're not going full Gary Vee and like creating 50 pieces of content off of this. Although we've got some pretty good sound bites today, so maybe we should.
I just think it's going to be a tough, being a creator and be a B2B is going to be a really tough mental game, and I expect there will be a ton of burnout as this like pressure to be in lots of channels continues to grow, because my strategy is not a good strategy. Like I'm all in on LinkedIn. I had a newsletter for a bit. I pulled off of that, so I'm on a rented channel that at any point could pull the plug on me, right? And then what do I have? I've got nothing. But it's also
You've got
going
your
back
name.
to it. I've got my name. But going back to what we talked about before, I'm like, I kind of weigh the risks, and I'd rather that because I'm confident I could rebound from it versus my kids are trying to tell me how, they did on their test, and I'm too busy like posting on 15 different channels to be able to be conscious of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's like there's no right or wrong choice. And I think also when you're in a very different state of your life, like I was single, like not married until I was 41. So I could work my ass off. I lived by myself. Like that was easy. And so I think that's a little bit easier when you're younger to do that versus like what we're talking about today when you have, human beings that you care so much about and you've got to make these trade-off decisions. It gets harder. And I think it forces you to focus on what matters
The other side of that coin for me is I don't know how much longer what I do will be done by people.
Same, dude. Same.
Yes and no. So like I don't think you're going to put a bot out on stage and that's going to drive the same level of enthusiasm and motivation like as hearing it from someone who's walked in the shoes and done the thing.
I totally disagree with you. I think people just won't use time at sales kickoffs like that. I think we'll get to a point where training is completely individualized. So you'll have all of your call recordings and all of your emails and all your proposals, and something will look through and it'll say, okay, this is your specific gap, and here's specifically tailored for you. And I think that's a better option. I do think it's a better option. I think sales kickoffs will become shorter. And they'll become more about motivation and engagement and, company focus, but they won't use external people like me. And I'm choosing to stay in this career knowing that is likely going to be the outcome because I enjoy it so much, but I'm not ignorant to the fact that, like, I think we should all be questioning is what we do, like, how is it going to look different in the future? I think it's ignorant to not question that.
You're such a good rah-rah, like, let's get it going. Like,
well, thank you.
I can't imagine that not being a thing that people keep using people for. But I agree with the highly personalized, as like the IEP, right? As things like Anim get better, Avara, Luster, Hyperbound, whatever, that's happening more and more. And not just the post-call follow-up, like training, do the one thing over and over again, keep repeating, get better, get feedback in the moment. Like that stuff works. That's great. That's how we train people to do pretty much everything else.
One of the interesting things is I keep getting questions from my clients around, like, why don't you have an AI version of yourself? Like, why don't you have a custom GPT? Why don't you? And I'm like, those are very good questions, but it's also entering into a space where I'm like, do I even want to play in that space, right? Because could I stay at home and have my AI bot work for me? Yes, but that's actually removes the thing I love about this job. Like, I love spending time with sellers. I love seeing that light bulb moment go off when they're like, I get it. I get what I've been doing and like why that's hurting me. I love that. So like it creates a completely different career. And I just, every week if you ask me every week, I'd be like, I've got like one more year, or it's 6 months, or it's 10 years. I don't know. It's just changing all the time. So I've tried to just stop thinking about it because I don't control it. Worrying does nothing. But I'm in this like phase now where I'm saying like, what is my next thing? Because throughout my career, if you look at my resume, about every 2 years, I would make some sort of switch. Like even though I stayed at the same company technically for 18 years, like I would change my role or my responsibility or my practice area or whatever. And I'm at my 2 year now. I just crossed it in October and I'm feeling that itch. And I'm like, before there was always a place you could move or you could go to a different company. And now I'm like, well, what do I do now? Do I pivot my business? That sounds scary. Like, how do I continue to stay excited and feel like I'm working towards something? I would say that's been a pretty big mind fuck for me because, and I'm not saying this is true, but in my head, what I tell myself is if you go back to corporate, that's a fail. I don't want to go back to corporate, but like, I think that's a little ridiculous. I tell myself that. I don't know why I think that. But so that then puts pressure on what can I do as my own business? I don't know. And I am like terrified of people asking me, like, what are you gonna, like, what's your 5-year vision? I'm like, I don't freaking know. What's the world gonna look like in 5 years?
I couldn't even tell you what it's gonna necessarily look like in the next 6 to 10 months.
Amen.
Like,
but aren't you used to having like, this is my next thing and this is my next thing, and it's a weird place to be. Like
Carabiner, we had a 5-year plan. We executed in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Now,
who knows?
On that note,
dystopian future.
Thanks
brought to you by DemandJen.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. This is so fun. You're a great host.
See you guys next time.